It still makes me mad that we were supposed to get the Batman in the summer of 2021, and it's been denied to us.
It's so dark and gothic and disgustingly decadent.
Luckily, it looks like its March 2022 release date will be the real one. DC fandom just maxed out the hype with a new trailer that promises the most terrifying version of the Riddler we have ever seen. And that's saying something, because we've seen a lot of different versions of the Riddler over the years. The original origin for the Riddler was that young Edward Nygma with an I at this point, was inspired by a puzzle contest at school that he cheated to win. Feeling empowered by his intellectual superiority, Nygma became obsessed with puzzles. This led him to the carnival, where he would make rigged puzzles that no one could solve to flaunt his superiority yet again. He soon grew bored of that and graduated up to supervillainy, donning the persona of the Riddler in order to prove that his impressive intellect was even greater than that of Batman's. Unfortunately for many comic book characters, the whole carnival worker turned superhero or villain thing did not age as well as writers thought it would. Looking at you, Hawkeye. Riddler has been reworked and reimagined perhaps more than any other Batman character. The Long Halloween depicted Riddler as a mob informant for Carmine Falcone. Zero Year depicted him as a tech-savvy genius who is capable of holding all of Gotham hostage. In Batman the Animated Series, he was a game designer. In Batman Forever, he was a former employee of Bruce Wayne's. The list goes on and on. Throughout all of these interpretations, a few things have remained consistent over the years. The Riddler has always been a self-destructive narcissist with an obsession for puzzles and conflicting pathological needs to both prove he is greater than Batman while also leaving constant clues that lead to his downfall. It looks like the Batman will be reimagining Riddler once again, but any of these interpretations could have inspired Paul Dano's take on the character. Just don't expect to see any tight-fitting spandex this time. Anyone who's a fan of David Fincher films probably found a lot familiar in the first two trailers for the Batman. That's because it's pretty clear that Matt Reeves took a ton of inspiration from two of Fincher's finest films, Seven and Zodiac. Both of these films feature investigators tracking down a vicious and mysterious criminal who leaves behind cryptic clues. In the case of Zodiac, that was based on the real-life case that as of yet hasn't been officially solved, but you may want to look up that they may have ID'd the guy. Zodiac often sent letters and clues to assert his dominance over the media and the police force. It looks like this version of Riddler is a huge Zodiac fan. You just know he follows like 10 different true crime podcasts. Of all the inspirations on pop culture Zodiac made, there is one that might even be more disturbing than the criminal himself. That would be Seven's John Doe. He arranged his slayings in such a way that it graphically depicted examples of the biblical 7 deadly sins in a morally bankrupt New York City. The new version of Riddler looks like he's going to take the word games Zodiac was known for and combine them with John Doe's sense of twisted moral righteousness. The trailers show that not only is he slaying people to assert his dominance over the GCPD and Batman, but that he's also hoping to expose a twisted truth about corruption in Gotham City. That leads us to what Matt Reeves considers the biggest inspiration on the Batman, the film noir classic Chinatown. This movie famously stripped down the classic detective story by putting its main character in a mystery buried in so much corruption that there was no way he could save the day. Chances are that while Batman will likely take the Riddler down, it'll mirror Chinatown, Seven, Zodiac, and even The Dark Knight by having Riddler succeed in his plans on at least some level. So naturally, the internet detectives have become obsessed with solving the case of who this new Riddler is going to be. The most popular theory is that the Riddler will simply be a more violent vigilante than Batman. He may be leading Batman towards a greater conspiracy like the Court of Owls, who control all of Gotham City behind the shadows. Some also think that Riddler's vendetta is more focused on Batman himself and his code. It's possible that the Riddler suffered a horrible tragedy due to Batman's refusal to take a life. The entire plot of the Batman could be a giant game to get Batman to break his greatest rule. Or maybe it's just revenge for him failing to save Edward Nashton's family. What would be an interesting take on the Riddler is if the conspiracy he's supposedly chasing is one that's all in his head. Perhaps instead of a V for Vendetta-style violent anarchist who's trying to overthrow an oppressive force, he's just a conspiracy theorist who's trying to get Batman to solve a problem that doesn't actually exist. It'd be fascinating to see the Riddler's trademark intellect mixed with paranoid delusions that see Nashton making wild connections that aren't actually grounded in reality. Some of the best Batman stories are the ones that show just how much empathy the Caped Crusader has for his rogues gallery, despite everything. Batman may have to put aside his violent methods in the end to simply help a sick man see that he's been chasing a lie. Judging from the trailers though, Paul Dano is going to get his face rearranged harder than he did in There Will Be Blood and Prisoners combined. I think after this trailer, it's pretty clear that Robert Pattinson imagined a fanboy talking about how he was Edward Cullen and not Batman during each and every one of those fight scenes. He's definitely got that fury from somewhere.